and good evening. My name is Claudia. I'm the chair of Armchair Amsterdam, and I welcome you to our meeting tonight. We will have a very nice meeting with Roland. Before we start with Roland, I tell you about our online community, the Intelligent or International Millionaires Network. We have a community here in the Netherlands online, and we also have members from all other countries at this moment, and we grow every week. This is our member list, so if you like to join us in the Netherlands, you have possibility to make a profile in our online community like this and meet other IMN members in a very targeted way, and you can even address some topics about information you like to share with us. And of course, we have a really big event calendar. There you can share anything you want to share with the world, like we have a meeting tonight with Roland, and next week we have a Merry Christmas meeting on Monday the 21st. And then of course we have every Monday the IMN Mastermind for everyone who is interested. And in February 2021, the 8th of February, we will meet in Woerden. So if you like to join us in Woerden, please go on to the meeting and click here on the event info, and it will bring you forward to the ticket line where you can get your early bird tickets, because the early bird ticket differs than if you go later on buy your tickets. And of course, the tickets are different for people who are IMN members. They pay a little price, and if you're not an IMN member, you will pay a little bit more. So I really recommend you then to join us at the IMN community, which makes it easier
I'm not interested.
To join. Yes. So, but tonight we have Roland, and Roland is actually the founding member of IMN. Roland, you started in 2016, the IMN, long time ago. And that's the reason we're still meeting here today. And I'm very happy that you join us tonight. And I have a story about real estate, because we know you from movie investing, which is very interesting as well. And yes, please go ahead. Tell us about you and what's all about tonight.
Okay, well, thanks, Claudia. It's funny to do it in English, since as far as I can see, everyone attending is fluent in speaking Dutch, but maybe for the recording it's a good idea to continue in English. Yeah, my name is Roland Mustert. You all know me. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, I'm a businessman, and indeed founder of IMN Netherlands, IMN Amsterdam. Well, like some others of you, I've been trained by JT Fox. I followed him and his teaching for more than 7 years now. I started my career in engineering, and I'm still active in that area, like industrial automation consultant, project management consultant. And my skills still apply to a lot of technology-driven companies. In that role, I've been up to projects with a span of 60 million euros. So yeah, that's a little bit about my industrial career. Meanwhile, I founded several companies. Obviously, MM Global Movies being the one most known to most of you, most publicly. But as a diversification of my own investments and investment services we offer to other investors, we've recently ventured into real estate, property. And I've begun to quickly build a portfolio. And tonight, I'd like to speak with you about investing in general and zoom in on investing in real estate in particular. Now, before I continue, I see other people connecting right now.
Right.
Wait for a second.
Yes, that's the reason I was interrupting you, because of course we really want to know about our joiners tonight. what are their real estate experiences.
Hello, I'm Frida de Hartog. I'm international intercessor for business and also the last year for the governments. And I training intercessors also for business. So that's a little bit what I do.
And what's your experience in regarding real estate or property?
I was one time, I was at a meeting with Kevin Green from England.
Yep.
And he's also doing in real estate and in gold and silver. I have many people who are in what you call, how you say that? Yeah, real estate business.
Yeah.
And sometimes they call me and ask me for what we call a difficult situation and ask for intercession. So in prayer to give them support in that. Yes, and to encourage them in things. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Let's move to Manelli. Manelli, what's your property experience?
Hi, hello everybody.
Hi.
So I want to say thank you for today, Roland. I was founding member. I was one of the first members of this club when you started it. So I know the story. It's a fantastic story in essence, and it's nice to be still here together. And so I right now I'm I'm a film director and producer, as you know, some of you, but with my company IBA, International Brokerage Agency, I am involving myself now in real estate here in Barcelona, but also in the US. So what happens is people come to me and they ask me for clients or for investors. So I connect them together, and after a few deals, I might even decide to buy myself some stuff. So that's what I do. And regarding, of course, the real estate, and of course, everybody knows I am the founder of the Lama Foundation, which is meant to empower women, education systems as we have them, to improve them, and eventually to improve humanity. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Annemarie, welcome. Unmute yourself, please, and explain your experience with real estate.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Annemarie Koppenau. I know many of you. And so my experiences with real estate, well, for me, it all started in, I think, 2010, when I was at a weekend about a different mindset and different ways to earn money next to a job or a career. And so one of them was real estate, and it was a first spark. And then someone told me to play the cash flow game by Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, yeah.
And, this was another spark. And then, of course, I wanted to read the books by Robert Kiyosaki. So I started out with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then the Cash Flow Quadrant, and that were more sparks. So by 2011, I really got the idea. This real estate thing is really, really a very good idea. If you want to make a continuous stream of income next to whatever job or career you're pursuing. And whether it's a job or whether it's an enterprise, it doesn't matter. And so, but I guess I wasn't ready, or my mindset wasn't ready. I was full occupied with little kids, etc. So it took until 2016 before I could speak to investors in such a way that they were willing to lend me the money to make my first real estate purchase. So this was in 2016. So that was the first one. And then 2017, the second one, and I really got the hang of it. So I thought 2018, the third one. So it was one per year. And I thought that was a really nice idea. I thought if I do this for 20 years, I own 20 properties. I thought that was a good idea. And then it became 2019, and I thought, but if I make a more interesting loan, if I go to the banks and I tell them I already own 3 real estate properties, maybe they're more interested to speak to me. And the interesting thing was they were more interested to speak to me then. So I got a bigger loan. And so I was able to buy another 3 properties in 2019. And then this year I went to the bank again and I said, hey, now I have 6 properties. So aren't you interested to give me a bigger loan? Because now I have 6 properties, I know what I'm doing, etc. And so I've been working on that from June, and finally came through in September that they were willing. And it takes a long time to refinance property that is rented out. And so by the 1st of December, everything was signed at the notary, and I got the umbrella hypothèque, as they called it, for the 6 properties, which then gave me room again to, in the end, buy 4 new ones today, or not today, this year. So, so yeah, in the end, 2020 will be then 4 new ones for this year. So in total, then by the 29th of December, I'm buying the last 2, which I thought was very interesting to do that just before the 1st of January. So that's the final 2-1 for this year. Yeah.
Such a lot of thanks. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. So this has been my, and so my there's a lot of experience, and I could, yeah. And so that's why I'm also very interesting to hear your experiences, Roland, and what you heard and what you learned. And so, as I said, so my first spark of interest was Robert Kiyosaki. Then I also went to some day courses of Kevin Green. And I also followed a 3-day course by Vincent Wong. So it was very, and both of them are from the UK. And they're, of course, at that moment, they were telling us that what the specific scheme they were using, not a scheme in a bad way, but the specific projects they were using in the UK were also possible in the Netherlands. Honestly, I wouldn't know if that is also legally, etc., possible in the Netherlands. But next to that, the whole idea of property, which is rising in value and giving you rent if you rent it out at the same time. And then for me, I'm just paying back the mortgage by the rent that the tenants pay me. So in the end, the tenants pay back my mortgage, and in the end, the house is mine. So I think that is a great idea.
Yeah.
To make
Well,
it very
on the topic, well, thanks a lot for that. Yes, there are differences between the Dutch real estate market and the UK market. And one of the things I'll touch upon that in the presentation.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Annemarie. So before you continue, a little bit of housekeeping. Cor, are you in a position to share already? Or is it still noisy where you are? Okay, that's across. All right, a little housekeeping. In order to keep this presentation audible, I suggest we all keep our microphones muted to prevent any background noise. There are some interactive parts in this one where I'll be asking for your input or feedback. In that case, it will be good to raise your electronic hand. If you look at the lower half of your screen, you see a little button saying reactions. If you click that, you can actually have several little icons. I should see you clap symbol, the far left one. As soon as you, or that's also fine, and if you use the thumb. But there is a means for us to see, okay, you have something to add, and then we can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. We'll call you out. That's the best way to proceed. If you have any questions along the way, if they're on topic, then please feel free to raise your hand, and we'll ask for your question. If it's not really on topic, then please save them for the Q&A at the end. All right? Okay. Well, this evening is about 2 things. It's about investing, and the other part is about the real estate more in detail. In general, about investing, the question is really, what is investing? Because this is important one, because people might have different perceptions. So let's hear from you. What do you think investing means or is? If you have an idea, just feel free to unmute and share.
Well, to me, investing is investing your time, energy, money in something with the aim of something bigger in whichever way coming out of it. So, for example, I invest a lot of time in raising my kids because my aim is to raise them to be responsible adults.
Yes, exactly.
And so the same then, I think you were aiming at money for this question. So I think the same thing goes for money. So you invest a sum of money in something with the aim of it growing, of something bigger coming out of it.
Exactly.
And mostly it will take some time. That's what I think.
Well, that comes with it. But in general, if you look at the encyclopedias of this world, they say investing is the act of allocating resources, usually money, but can also be time, in fact, with the expectation of generating an income or profit. So that's an important one to keep in mind. Because sometimes people, they call it what they do is investing in something, and it can be a relationship, but sometimes they're investing in something, they're investing their time, but it's not really aimed towards generating income or profit. That's kind of the wrong way of investing things. Now, you already shared what are you already investing in a little bit. So let's continue about that. Why would you invest? So give me a few reasons, anyone. And not just because of generating money, but the bigger picture.
Yeah, for me, investing is like gardening. It's a whole process, like having a strategy and suing and choosing what to do and make a plan and then have a certain process. And of course, you want at the end harvest something out of it. So I see it as a complete process, gardening. Yeah, that's for me.
So you're saying you're enjoying the process, but is that your ultimate goal?
I enjoy more the process than at the end. You know, when you have the result. Okay, okay, that's the result. We expected that or not, but it's more on the way. I love that more.
Okay, well that's interesting. That's interesting. Because anyone else maybe? If not.
Well, I like both. I actually found out that I really also like the process. I like the process of what I'm doing at these last years with the investing into real estate. But also the process of the thinking process of how can I make with the resources that I have now, how can I make that grow and at best exponentially? So for me, there is the outcome is in mind, but I'm not harvesting the outcome yet. So I really love the analogy that Claudia used there.
Yeah. What I'm more looking for is the bigger scheme, the bigger goal. For instance, passive income as a replacement of working income.
Yeah,
talking.
I raised my hand, but that doesn't work, so I'll
I see that. They work. Yeah, go ahead.
I was waiting. For me, it's more than only making money, right? Especially in my time, I want to impact, to improve the world we live in. That's my main goal, to invest, especially time. So, and of course, my idea is if you want to support others or, be part of an impact, you need to take care of yourself first. So I think it's in stages. Once you are financially free, which is a good aim, in my opinion, to start with, then you want to make a difference. And that's for everybody, of course, a different question. What is your passion? And I like to, I love talking with people and connecting people, and it's easy for me to do that. But I'm very keen since after half a century on my time. It's not only money that we invest; it's also time, right? And knowledge.
Absolutely.
So this is the way I see it at this moment. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm actually more aiming towards the financial investment right now, not so much time. So like I said, one of the goals can be passive income as a replacement of working income. How would your retirement plan? I mean, at some point you want to really quit working, maybe not now, maybe in a few years' time, or you want to leave a legacy, build something for your children. And there's two very important other aspects, like avoid devaluation of your capital. Because currently the interest rate is between 0.0 and 0.25%, quarter of a percent, and sometimes it can even be negative. Now, inflation was at 2.5% last year. It's this year going to be around 1.5%. If you add it up, you end up negative, which means your money in the bank is crumbling, it's devaluating. That's another big reason to invest in order to turn that trend around. Now, here's another important reason why you should, or why it's wise to invest, because as we all know, in the Dutch tax system, if you build up a nice pot of money, then the taxman comes by and says, this is interesting, give me some of that. It's basically, so investing is a way to delay tax payment, because while you're investing, you don't have all that cash in your wallet or in your bank account, so they will not tax you. So by investing, it's possible to evade the tax now and pay it maybe much later. So let's look at ways to invest, how and the possibilities. So, well, we all know, and let's hear from you what kind of, besides property, besides real estate, what kind of investment can you think of? Let's hear what you guys can bring up.
Yeah, the stocks, investing in a business. Yes, that's the main other investments I can imagine.
Okay. Anyone else? Another idea?
Yes, new technologies. You know,
Yeah.
environmental technologies, commodities, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Stocks and bonds. Don't forget the cryptos currently, because it's
Yeah.
And commodities like precious metals, diamonds. You already mentioned technology, but usually startups. Here's another interesting one: movies. I'm not saying this because my company with movies,
That's
but
a very
in general,
risky and bad investment.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just kidding. You know what I used to say? This was a say of mine. Investing in movies is tricky and a big risk. When it works with capitals. When you have a hit, then you become an instant millionaire.
Yes, but I mean, but that's a different topic. It's a different presentation I could actually give you, because investing can be extremely risky, because everyone knows it completely flops in the cinemas, then you lose all your money, or it's a huge success and then you get the jackpot.
Yeah.
That's the way of investing. That's actually more like gambling, but there are ways to do it properly and has proven to be very stable. But with investment comes a risk. So what is investment risk? And let's look at the previous example that we listed down and see what the risks are. Stocks and bonds, typically that is highly volatile. The markets may swing unexpectedly, and that happened a few times in the last decades. All of a sudden there's this tremendous downturn of all the stock markets. And within minutes or hours, it can fall several percent, sometimes 24, 30%. So unless you know what you're doing, it's a risky business. It's a highly volatile market. The other one, cryptos. Well, the thing is highly volatile as well and unstable. Why? Because the market is rather small. There's a few larger players. They can, by just buying and selling, they actually manipulate, they swing the entire exchange rates. So that's they're basically dominating those markets. And you've seen that in the last couple of years. There's this uptrend and downtrend, uptrend and downtrend. There's people dominating the market with a large amount of cash. Not something I would typically invest in. Commodities, for instance, precious metals or diamonds, some of them is volatile because it depends on people's likings. I mean, if people like certain metals, they have a taste for it and then they invest in it. And all of a sudden that can change around, and all of a sudden these kind of commodities will drop in value. The one thing that is actually a great thing to invest in, but you really need to think long term, that's bullion, gold. Because it's still an underlying kind of standard in all the financial markets. And you see, if something happens, like the markets go down, everyone runs to gold. And of course there's fluctuation, but if you think long term, gold is still a good investment. We spoke about technology or startups. Well, that's interesting, but also risky business. Why? Because it turns out that only 1 out of 5 businesses, startup businesses, will survive the first 2 years. And then if they do, they might soar. And that's why a lot of large investors are investing in technology or startups. They invest in several. They know a few will just die out. but this one company might actually be very successful. But it's a certain risk profile. About the movies, we have experienced this over the last 5 years, our partners for the last 12 years or more. It still has to be risk evasive by the system that we've created. We've experienced now that it is very, very stable. It simply soars, it simply goes on while the markets are swinging left, back and forth. The movie investments are still continuous and just going forward. And then of course, real estate, we also mentioned it. Real estate is in principle risk evasive and it's stable, but you need to think long term. Sometimes you can make quick wins in a certain market, but not always. Basically, the basic thinking is long term. With investment risks, there's always the question, okay, what are the other returns? Because it's always a question of risk versus reward. Again, back to stocks and bonds. Now, typically, 99% of people investing in stocks and bonds, they lose. It's only that little group of people that are the really professionals, and they can sometimes make up to 30% a month. Only a few people. I've read something about the Standard & Poor 500, average 50 years is an 8% return. If you look at cryptos, according to Crypto Insiders, the average ROI, this return on investment, is 11.9%. Well, it's for me hard to judge whether that's accurate or not. But as I said, cryptos is something you need to be very knowledgeable about, because I wouldn't invest there, considering the risks. Precious metals, like I said, it depends. In times of crisis, people tend to go into gold, for instance. Diamond is something that has been created in the past by a group of investors. There's really marketing being done in the US. That's how diamonds came about. All of a sudden, everyone wants to have diamonds. And that's how this market was created. It's really funny if you think about it. It's all marketing. Because in the old days, no one cared. These little dark, black, very hard stones. No one cares. And all of a sudden, it's being converted into something you really want to have. Looking at startups. If you look at startups, if a startup is really going profitable, is really doing well, your investment might easily be doubled, or even 5 or 10 times. That is very, very depending on the kind of company. It's difficult to come up with an average number. For movies, we know by now that for an investor, 10% a year is very realistic. We've done that over the last couple of years, and it's very stable. Now, if you look at real estate, in average, average investor, if you buy property and you start renting it out, you make between 6 and 7%. The pros, though, professionals, they can easily make between 10 and 15%, but you need to know how you do it. In general, the higher the risk, the higher the returns. And sometimes people are really looking at, it's high returns, that's interesting, but then they forget that there's also a risk involved. On the flip side, the lower the risk, the lower the returns. So there's something for everyone. So I'm actually interested to hear from you guys, what kind of risk or what kind of reward are you looking for? What will work for you?
When I think about real estate, it's a long-term goal I have, because it's for my retirement. You know, it's long, stable investment. So I really believe that's a good thing. Until I heard last week someone said maybe in 2030 no one has a property anymore, but I don't believe that. So yes, this is really something that gives you a good night's sleep and has a long-term monthly recurring income. And when I think about stocks, I get goosebumps, and it's exciting, but it's dangerous as well. So I believe I cannot put too much money in that, because I'm on one hand wasn't very lucky with it, and it's just not my thing. So
it's safe to say you like a very modest or a modest risk, or even like to be risk evasive.
yes, and I like it that I can touch it. You know, a house is a house, you can touch it, and so that's the reason I do not really have something with Bitcoin.
Exactly. And what kind of returns are you looking for and would satisfy you?
8%.
Okay. Okay. Frida, let's hear from you.
Yeah, if I see the things in that in the time that you take your time and your investment in things, you want to see the fruits of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And also not only that, but also that it will be attractive to others too. It's also about that if you have, no matter what you have, if you have real estate or when you have a great network around the world, international, and it's go well and it's flowing, you also see the results of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think when is always the good timing? I think in everything is always a part of a risk in some way, somehow.
Yes, exactly. So for you personally, are you looking for these quick wins where you really need to decide, okay, this is the right time to go in and this is the right time to go out? Or are you more...
Yes. Yeah, I wait in particular things. I pray for that, and I ask when I wait until the right time to do something or to invest in, but also when I take the time to spend in to help people, encourage people in business.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a time of process. And yeah, your time and investment in things sometimes need to grow. And then you take
Yeah.
the right time to make that decision. And then you will see the results of it. But there
Okay.
are
Yeah, but that's
people,
clear.
there are the motivation of the heart is what I want to have so quickly as possible to buy that real estate or to go in business with somebody. And sometimes they go too early in things. They didn't wait until the right opportunity comes.
Yes, okay. But do you realize that sometimes in this particular approach, you might be on the sideline for a very long time? Because when is the right time to invest? When is the right time to start? And
That's true. That's true. Yeah. When
so,
is the right time in that? Yeah, you can wait a long time, or you take the risk and do it and just see the results of it. Yes.
yeah, but are you like...
But that's the risk
Or,
that you're taking.
yes, exactly. But are you a person that might go for a calculated risk, or maybe you are more like gambling, or did you want to go for a risk evasive approach? What kind of person are you?
No, the first one that you said, I'm very, I'm not taking that risk just like that. Oh, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not the person who I am. No.
Exactly. So, and when you've calculated the risks, so what kind of return would you be happy with? Are you aiming for 21%, or just, okay, if I can make 5%, I'm happy?
Yeah, if it started with low, it's okay. Then it will be okay. Yeah. It can always, I always see something when you start in little, it can only go further in growing in bigger way.
Okay. Well, that's
And also, and that's also in the networking with people. Do you have the same thing?
exactly. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Okay, you're welcome.
I see someone who I haven't met before, Xander.
Oops, hi. Hi, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Yeah, what's the reason for me to invest? Your question again, come again, sorry.
Yeah, what kind of risk would be acceptable to you? Are you a kind of a risk evasive investor, or do you do an opportunity?
I think that when it comes to risk and investing, as you said, there's a certain pattern in it. When the return is high, The risk is high. And I think that when it comes to, there's no safe thing to invest, I believe, maybe only gold, because gold you can trade all over the world and it's acceptable everywhere, because I think that is one of the valuable things of an investment. It must be measurable and you must be able to materialize it in various areas. So I think that the best investment would be in real estate, where it's difficult to mention a number. Because when it comes to buy and hold, meaning you're buying to buy for letting it out, my problem with that is that you have the after repair value and you have your maintenance cost. So when you only look at your purchase cost and you look at the return based on your investment, your initial investment, it may look like you have a higher return. But if you look at over the year, when you're looking at over the years, it may be a downturn, especially also because it really gets impacted by the economy. If I'm investing, I purely say if I invest in real estate, which is one of the best, it's a new build. Because in new build, you can determine your price. You have a clear goal. It's 10%, it's 25%. You go for it, or you buy, you fix and you flip, and you go for it. And then you can determine your price a little bit, your return a little bit more. So to answer your question, the number doesn't matter. It really depends on how quick do I get my money back. And and then the profit will come. Let's say it like that. Yeah, because the most important thing is not to lose.
Well, that's good. In any case, okay.
Yeah. So
thanks for sharing, Manelli.
Yes, we want to know, the question is how much ROI in percentages do you prefer? Minimum 10%, but it depends on my time that I spent, right? So although real estate is very interesting and a very steady investment, I learned, especially when there are calamities like this Corona circus now, you will see all the groceries and livings first necessity needs of people have always work, even in troubled times. But last year in 2019, I came with a partner here in Spain, and I said to them here, we want a return of 15% at least, because we work with private investors, and that's how we do it. We split, so we need at least 15%. And everybody said it's not possible, but we got offers anyway. So it all depends on your mindset and what you want, and just ignore the rest, right?
Yeah.
So, but if a small return, if it doesn't cost much time, I wouldn't mind. But as long as you don't lose your money, always play even. So, so in essence, minimum 10%. And I've met a lot of people who told me, Manelli, don't come to me. I will start warming if you say 12%. I've met a lot of already successful investors that say that. Don't bother me if you don't have something that at least gives a return of 12%. And of course, you don't consider the risk here. So I think that the best investment you can do, if you know how, is trading, because there's not much cost there, but you have to know how to do it. And we know a few people amongst us in the family VT folks who do this very successfully, but it's damn hard. I admit that it's a challenge, because if you consider, like you just said, the last speaker, there is more cost than you think, especially when you keep properties. If you keep them, there's a maintenance that you have to account.
Yeah, that's all in the game. That's all in the game.
Yeah, but that's then if you compare in years, it's not a very good investment. If I decide to start myself as well, having my own, let's say my own investments, like I buy a house or a project or a building, with apartments and things like that, I would only want to flip till I have accumulated enough reserves to take risks. Renting out, that's a lot of headaches, and then you should have, in my opinion, a higher return on investment. But that's not what what the practice says, but on the other hand, it's something that
Yeah.
always we need it. So
Well,
always is, you know,
that's
you can
what-
always sell or buy or whatever. So this is for now what I think. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But I was more aiming for, okay, what fits your personality? Are you a risk taker or are you a risk evader?
No, it's in between. So if you have, let me explain. If I would trade, you know, most people, they make mistakes because become, you know, eager, right? But you always have to take aside some money, and you need to have a plan and a strategy, and don't change that, or don't, you know. So
No, that's
emotions are
fair.
important. I'm not a risk taker. I calculate things like Frida said, but if you don't take risks, you will never make big, you know. You have to take
Yeah,
risks.
so there is something for everyone. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for
And
sharing,
you know, yes, you're welcome. Take care.
I see another attendee, Miss Awa.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you on board.
Yes, of course. I would not miss your information but I didn't have Wi-Fi because I'm here in Mexico.
New Mexico, wow.
Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. It's so amazing over here. And yes, well, I want to say that I am a person who doesn't like to take risks if it concerns money, but everything I did the last couple of months is taking risks.
Okay.
Because, well, as you know, we talked about a lot of things, and I sold my apartment and I quit my job, and I said bye-bye to my government support as a WW-uitkering. So, because I like to have my freedom. And I've learned also from, well, Mr. Buffett, Warren Buffett always said, if you have a house, you only have a house as an investment, because if you live in it, it doesn't bring you money. You have to have property as an investment. So I don't have that much money to just buy a property, but I have property in Morocco, in Marrakesh, because the market is fantastic over there. And that is something as an investment. I have some Bitcoins. I worked for 9 years in real estate, so I know how it works with return on investments, and that 8-9% is a fantastic percentage. But I also heard that if you invest in the American market, that you can have up to 12% of return on your investment. And it's possible, but that's in, how do you say that? Dividends. Dividends. That's in the US market because they have a total other structure. So I'm looking into that market because it sounds very interesting. The Bitcoins I have is not a lot, but it's going okay with the Bitcoins at the moment. So I'm a bit of both. I like to take risks, but if you take risk, you have to do with real money you can miss. And at the moment, I cannot do everything. So yeah, that's what I want to share with you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. It's good to see you jump from Bulgaria to Mexico.
Yes, I just heard, I don't want to talk about it, but I heard that the Netherlands is in lockdown from yesterday. So
yep.
Wow, I feel so horrible for, well, I really, my mind is with you, and my mind and body is here. Well, I want to share it with you.
Oh, how terrible.
So just take the plane and come over here. It's so cheap.
Will do,
and
will do.
The people are nice. So come over here, we do business here.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
but be
will
careful
do.
with the police in Mexico. Be careful with the police.
I was a police officer too, so they're my friends, amigo.
No, I don't know. Don't drive big American cars. They will stop you. And they put me over and they let me go. It's a miracle. It's another story for another time. But I had an experience like that. with a car from Arizona, right? And it's not allowed to go with rented cars in Mexico. I didn't know that.
Oh yes, in
That's
Morocco,
interesting.
yes, in Morocco it's the same. You're not allowed to go with a lease car. You have to have a permission from the owner. Yeah, I
Yes.
know.
But let
Yeah,
me go. It's another. I'll tell you one
but
day.
that's a different story. I mean, for some other time.
Yeah, not now,
For now.
but tricky country, but very cheap, and the tacos are real good there. That's a real taco.
That's great. Let's have a presentation on Mexico sometime later. Looking forward. Okay, thanks Al for sharing. Cor, is there something you want to share about risk and typical returns you're looking for? You're still in a noisy place. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for that. That's good to know. That's important. So, like we said at the beginning, today is about investing, the backgrounds of it, the reasons why, and we're going to zoom in on investing in real estate. Actually, more investing in real estate in the Netherlands. That's also the title of this presentation on IMN, because it has turned out to be an interesting real estate market in the Netherlands. Now, I'll give you some interesting material, and I'll share my screen with you. Hang on a second. Okay. Here are some facts and figures about the real estate market in the Netherlands. Now, what you can see, and it's not just the Netherlands, it's actually multiple countries around the world, you can see a continuously upgoing trend. This is only from 1989 to 2007, but you can easily extend that, extrapolate. It's even going further in as we speak in 2020. On the right-hand picture, San Francisco is an area. You see this continuous upgoing trend, and every now and then there's a short backdrop, and then it continues again further up. This is typical. Some other interesting things to know about the Dutch real estate market is, according to the central planning agencies, Centraal Planbureau and Planbureau Leefomgeving, hang on a second. It expected that the Dutch population will grow with another 950, almost 1 million people between 2015 and the year 2030. It is expected that by 2030 we will have 18 million inhabitants. Now, those two agencies have produced a report that says that the 4 major cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague and Utrecht, will have 1/3 of population growth. That's quite a lot. So compared to 2015, they'll have 15% more inhabitants by 2030. And even also the other cities around those big cities will also have a significant increase of inhabitants. Now, you probably know that, I'll just take this one down.
Did you calculate the corona time with this? That everybody is at home now, so maybe the baby boom will be bigger.
Well, that's certainly something to take into account. Yes, absolutely. Now, currently, we have a severe housing shortage. It's going to look like the UK. The UK is suffering from that ever since the 60s. Now, what's happening currently, that building new homes has been far behind. It's not even close to what we need. For instance, due to nitrogen emission laws, we have these PFAS issues that create a serious slowdown on building new houses. But every year we need at least 80,000 new homes. And this whole development, like last year, year before last year, came to a grinding halt at 50,000. So developers, they sell more homes than they can, That's actually incorrect. I'm sorry. So over the time between 2010 and 2030, Holland should have built 800,000 new homes. So you can actually see there's a huge shortage. Well, as you can see all in the picture, I'll just bring it up again. If you look at the, stand by a second, I need to share this one. There we go. I'll share my screen again. This is what you can see between 95 and 2019. So what the effects were on the house pricing? Well, we all know ever since last year, there was another 10% increase. I'll explain to you why in a second. Okay. So currently, house prices are rising. The prices are going up rapidly, and so are the rents. The government attempted to control the markets. Unfortunately, it is very ineffective and counterproductive. Because what they try to do is they try to change the laws a bit, the tax system, in an attempt to make the property developers be pushed to the background and open up the housing market to other citizens. Now, that has an adverse effect because they try to change the rules about stamp duty, overdagbelasting, by saying, okay, if you are first buying your first house, you pay no taxes. But that was obviously something of a kind of measure that was costly. So they were trying to regain that investment by saying, okay, now the property investors need to pay as much as 8% stamp duty rather than 2% now. That has led to a sharp increase. Why? Because in the last quarter of this year, when this new law was coming about, a lot of investors started buying houses like madmen. I mean, there was a lot of investors, property investors, buying like crazy. So as an effect, there's a shortage of housing. A lot of people want to buy something as an investment, so the price is going up. So compared to last year in November, prices has gone up almost 10%. It's over 9%. In other words, this so-called tax exemption for starters, for people that want to buy a first house, is completely evaporated. In fact, they pay 8% more now rather than a year ago. That's an example how sometimes governments interfere. But that's only one thing. So here's a few more facts. We all have a higher life expectancy nowadays. It's quite common nowadays to reach 80 years of age or even more. Also, people migrate from the countryside to the cities. For instance, Zeeland and Groningen, people are just migrating. They're leaving their homes in the countryside and move towards cities. Another aspect, people marry much later. Usually,
I want to interrupt you on this.
Yep.
Because the latest movement is leave the city and go to the countryside because of the COVID, and we can work more from home and will work more from home in the future.
Yeah, that's correct indeed. That's a change in direction. I'm not quite sure how long the war will take. It will continue. Because also there's another aspect, because the houses are much cheaper over there, people go back. But that could be temporarily aspect. Like I said, another aspect is that people, they marry much later, between 30 and 35 on average. So they live by themselves a lot longer. And we're also looking at far more divorces than, say, 20 years ago. In all, there's a big demand on housing because people, even if they're by themselves, they want to have a house. So there's a huge demand for housing. And on top of that, the majority of the people are in no position to buy them due to this tremendous up spike of the house price. Now, as an investor, if we're lucky to have something with more money, as an investor, we can, however, offer them a rental alternative. And that's one of the reasons why this is still a good, interesting thing to do. If we talk about the risk regarding real estate, the simple thing is there is, and there will always be, this heap of stones. that present a certain amount of value. A value that typically keeps going up. Well, we've seen the trends, provided, of course, and that's something for professionals to look into. It's of course interesting to purchase a property in such a way that the property will produce a positive cash flow, and that's what we call a good deal or good debt. In that case, there's always a positive investment scenario. But even when house prices go down, there's still no loss, as long as the property keeps producing cash flow. Because some people think, but the house prices are going down, so I lose money. As long as you don't sell the house, nothing is lost. There's still value in the stones, there's still value in the structure. And even when the rent goes down, I mean, that might happen. I suppose there's some kind of some additional tax rule, or there's a legal limit to the house price, the rental price. Still, typically, if you invest in a property the right way, there is still a margin. Okay, your cash flow might go down, but it's still positive cash flowing. Now, on top of that, you are repaying a part of the debt to the mortgage provider. So it means your debt slightly goes down. And the good thing is, and Annemarie already mentioned at the beginning of this session, it's actually your tenants paying part of your mortgage. And that's great. So your margin, your profit margin is growing. Now, of course, there are some other risk elements. What if you have no tenants? Vacancies. That can happen. I mean, I know people that had properties and they rented out to expats. Well, there's hardly any expat in sight currently because they're all left the country, they're gone. So you need to, in that case, you have to re-strategize. But it's a risk you need to anticipate. You can have some kind of calamity, like damage on the outside, the inside. Well, luckily, you have insurances for that. There's something to cover. You might look at a changing interest rate. That's also something that can be mitigated. So all these aspects can fairly easily be mitigated, making an investment in property a very good one. Now, I'll touch upon another aspect of investing in real estate in the Netherlands. We have a unique tax regime, and some people might not like it, but we have our box 3 system, and it's unique in its kind. There's no other place in the world where you have a box 3. And the interesting thing is, anything that you kind of earn in box 3 is hardly taxed. Well, there's a standard rate of 0.5%, and for amounts up to 100,000, there's 1.27% from 100K to say $1 million, and there's 1.6% over $1 million. It's still very, very low. I mean, it's super low. We don't have something like what we call capital gain tax, which you typically find in most Commonwealth countries, like the UK, the US, Australia, New Zealand, whatever. So any money you make out of investments, regardless which one, you pay tax, and that can be something like 20, 25% or more over the amount of money that you made on your investment. That's something very unique. And here's a very good thing. This whole unique tax system is available to every private property investor in the Netherlands. Okay, so much about the general aspects of investing in property. Now let's take a quick look at the how, because it's easy to talk about property, but to actually invest and do it yourself, it's a different ballgame. There's a couple of very important aspects. I would call it chapters. The very first one is education. This acquires knowledge. You need to acquire knowledge because you need a lot of knowledge to do real estate in the proper way. And how to assess and evaluate properties, how to properly finance them, find the right financing, how to apply for necessary permits and know if permits are applicable, yes or no, how to find tenants, how to maintain your property, how to find new tenants, etc. Another chapter is called branding. Now, those of you who have been following JT Fox know all about it. Branding is super important Because if you want to work with investors, it's not so much what your business is doing. They won't invest in your business, they'll invest in you. I'll come back to that later. So you need to build your brand and your credibility, and that's really JT's lessons. Then there's another part, another chapter is called your network, because your network is your net worth. But the important thing about network is you need to build yourself a network of investors, but also property owners, because property owners, they give you the ability to acquire knowledge about properties available in the market. You can learn from them. You can share your experience with them. If you want to do JVs or you will sell your property, it's becoming very handy to have a fair share of people around you who know your business. And then you need to build your team. It's also a network. Deal sources, mortgage brokers, CPA, accountants, appraisers, working people that are very good with their hands to build your new toilet and your new bathroom. That's a real important chapter to invest in. And that's investing in time in this case, time and energy. Next chapter, the market. Because you need to get acquainted with the market. You need to get to know your market. You need to select a part of the market and familiarize yourself with it, because you need to know all the details. And that will allow you to find below market value deals for yourself or for others. And if you do it for others, it's called deal sourcing. And this particular finding below market value deals, that can be the very challenging chapter. Especially now in a market that is so super overheated. It still is possible, provided you have the right network. I mean, as you can see behind me, I'm sort of sitting in a construction area. This is a property I bought some months ago. I bought it below market value because I've had people in my network that actually found the property. Said, "Hey, I found this property. Are you interested?" And I said, "Sure, yes, I'll take it." And you need to create this space to work in. Another chapter, strategy. You need to figure out for yourself, what did you want to do? Do you want to buy and rent them out? Usually it's buy, fix a little bit and rent them out. And you find the mortgage, you find tenants, and you make this property operational, and the cash flow will come towards you. Or do you want to flip? So you buy, you do it up, and you sell it again. And I think that's what Sandra was aiming at, where you can actually make some interesting money. But it involves work. It involves temporary financing. It involves some refinancing or selling. My inside professionals tell me that flipping in this market currently is not the best strategy, but that's all for people to have their own opinion. I can imagine if you are very into that kind of strategy, it will still work for you. Now, this all sounds simple, right? Or maybe it sounds a little bit like a lot to take in, or maybe a little bit overwhelming or too much, or maybe too time consuming to go through the full 9 yards to learn all this, or maybe too difficult, maybe you don't have the time to do it. So there's two ways of doing this. There's an alternative. You can do it yourself. You can go through all the education like we've done. We spent a number of years starting in the UK, venturing off in the Netherlands, investing a lot of in education, building networks like all the chapters I just described. You can do it by yourself, or, and that's for most people the most interesting one, team up with the experts. We can do it together. I know how to do it. I have the network, I have the knowledge, I can find the properties, and this is actually something we can do together. So, as an example, there's two ways to do it. You can be an armchair investor, for instance. People say, okay, listen, I want to travel the world. I want to go to Bulgaria, I want to go to Mexico, and just sit at the pool, enjoy my sunshine. And meanwhile, my money is working for me. I don't want to be bothered with all the ins and the outs of running a property. Someone is handling it for me. That's great. So my money is safe, the risk is covered, and I still get a return every year. That's one way of doing it. The second option can be a joint venture. You say, okay, listen, I want to be actively involved, but you have far more knowledge than I have, but I have money. So that's fine. So we can work together. One partner brings in some capital, the other partner brings in capital, like working capital, to really like the knowledge, the skills, and the time to do it. So one part is actually making sure the property is being acquired, the property is being fixed, being done up properly, and the property being rented out. And then you share the profits. That's called a JV structure. Now, as an example, we currently have a deal on the table. We are working, well, it was supposed to be at the notary desk today, but due to circumstances, we've postponed it a little bit, a couple of days. So Monday next week, we will acquire and buy a property in Rotterdam. It's like a complete empty big house. It's a casco, and we will convert it into 6 studio apartments. That's an actual deal as an example. And that's something, actually something we can do together. So if you want to know more about that particular thing, I have a brochure that explains how we work, what we do, what the property looks like, what the plans are. And yeah, if you want, I can send it to you, and then you can have a look and think for yourself if there's anything interesting to you. A lot of information, a lot of stuff to have shared with you. I think it's the right time to do some Q&A. Anyone that has questions, let me know.
I just mentioned that it would be a better investment to invest in existing properties than in new build properties. You just said. I have different numbers.
No, I didn't say. I didn't mention new builds. No, I was saying buying and selling.
Yeah, I mean, correct. Yeah. Okay.
New builds. I do agree that new builds is also an interesting, very interesting angle.
Okay. Yeah.
Provided you can find a plot of land that has at a certain price level, and you have the right people to quickly and cost effectively build a property.
Yeah. No, correct. Because I agree with you that buying existing and so flipping existing, because there is practically no below market value. I mean, it happens when you add value to it, but that is the typical fix and flip. There is a little bit of room, but I think that the biggest margin currently in the Netherlands is into new builds, and especially modular. There is a report from McKinsey, and in the next coming years, they have estimated 22 billion the market.
Yeah, that's very possible. But I need to tell you that even currently, we can still buy below market value.
I know.
The one in Rotterdam is below market value.
Yeah, no, I know that there is a lot, but I agree with you that one of the other things, and a question I have with most of the basically investors who are investing in existing homes, I think that one of the most important things as a property investor is to create new homes, to create new properties. So like you're splitting the one apartment up in 16, so you have new tenants coming in, and you create value to the market so people can go and live. Yeah, I'm very much against investing in existing property just because of the sake of having an additional income and not creating additional homes. So
yeah, I mean, considering the market trends and the high housing demand, it's rewarding, I would say. But you can still do it both. I mean, the one that we're converting, it's not charity. I mean, it's an investment. We did proper calculations. We bought it below market value. We know what's going to be spent on it, invested to do it up, and split it into studios, providing proper housing for people. And like I explained in my presentation, there's currently a lot of people that are living by themselves. They want to live by themselves, so they need a space to live by themselves. That doesn't have to be a two-story apartment, but like a studio can be all right.
Yeah.
So you're doing two things. You're creating homes, and at the same time, it's still positively cash flowing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one.
It's two birds in one stone.
Yeah. Okay, good. No, that's just my only question/comment. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to comment on what you said, Roland, especially what you said in the end, where when you said the various chapters, where you said to first the education and the building your brand, and really to get to know this whole scheme, etc. And as I said in the get to know each other, it took me, I think, close to 6 months this year to really work out that the refinancing of the houses. And it sounds so easy because this is what you hear in many advertisements and many courses. You say, you know, it's really easy. So you buy the house, you do it up, you rent it out, and then you refinance it. So when you say it, it's 30 seconds. And I can tell you, and I had advisors, etc. And I wasn't pushing every day. I wasn't. But so it took me, I think, in total 5 months to really get it done. Because then between where you start asking for the finances, you need to get it the taxateur. You need to get it. Valorization of the, yes, exactly, all these things, and you need to find, of course, you're asking more financiers than one, and you ask them for the rates, and then they say, oh yes, we're very interested, and then they want to know 10,000 things of you. So I think you're very correct when you're saying that. So in every chapter that you just named, there is a lot, for my experience, there's a lot of time and effort goes in. And actually, I might be a little the quirky one who kind of likes this, as I said in the beginning. So I like doing it myself, but I totally agree with you. There's a lot to learn. It takes a lot of time and effort. There's a lot of frustration sometimes because then the painter says he'll come and doesn't come. And then the plumber comes and says, why is the painter not done? And then the technician comes and says, why is the plumber not done? And well, there you go. So
exactly.
yeah,
I know what
so
you're
that
saying.
might be. So I really agree with you on the fact that all these chapters take a lot of time and effort, and so that if you would be interested in investing in real estate, which I agree with you, Roland, is I would say is a lucrative. It's a very good idea, and it's especially if you're looking at diversifying your portfolio to invest in various things. I'm all for that. And then it's a very interesting choice. Are you going to do it all by yourself, or are you going to joint venture with someone? Are you going to go with someone, or be an armchair investor as well, if you want to travel the world, or do other things, read books, do whatever you like, raise your kids in the meantime. It's a good idea too. So yeah, I really get where you're getting at.
And it's important, it's very important to understand for all of you that doing such a partnership, whether it's an armchair or a JV, is actually a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally should be. But I would be more than interested to have a look at your brochure. You know my email address. So I hope
I'll send it. Yeah.
I hope you can forward it to me. I'd be interested to have a look at it. And already at this moment, I don't know if we're drawing to a close, but already at this moment, thank you for your presentations. Very comprehensible. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Frida, I had the idea you had a question. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is something on my lips I want to say about how important it is, the whole situation in the world, also in the Netherlands. It changed so much in everything, even economics, how everything is changing. There are so many real estates empty, and we see the very special that people. There are so many people who needs a home, and you see a lot of people alone in their own buildings, and you see a lot of young people, also students, who wants to have well, let us say a dream come true to have a real estate for themselves. So there, yeah, there isn't a typical a different way economics what's going on in the real estate business. That is what, and you see also that maybe every time it will change in a new strategy over and over time. So what you told about education and branding, and I think it's very good that we have, even with GT and Kevin Green and so many people who work with education to train people how to develop themselves into buy and sell real estates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's real. Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about strategies, indeed, and that's a very important section in the strategy chapter, that you really need to look at the market and adapt. Like you say, currently what's happening with COVID, there's expats in the country. So people that have fully focused on renting out to expats, they need to quickly re-strategize and rent out or rent out to singles, because otherwise you go bankrupt.
Now, if you see the importance, what happened, GT also told, look, people have plan E, but you quickly have to have plan B to go further.
Yeah.
And many people, yeah, you see what happened now with the whole COVID, what happened. And GT also told, you will see the difference that the people who have already to pick up, to go further than that, have new strategies, new beginnings in that, they survive in business with real estate. And yeah, many going down. And that's really, yeah.
So you need to constantly anticipate, also regarding a new tax regime or new laws regarding investment. You need to be ready when that kicks in. You need to change your strategy and go a different direction to stay in profit mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add something to that, Frida, because actually for me, as I told you guys, I've started with real estate in 2016, which was also the idea in my head, because we've had some financial struggles past and losing a job when you don't expect it, etc., etc. So I started in 2016. So then come 2020 with the COVID, actually my business is a coach and a trainer. A lot of coaching and training, everything went down this spring. But because I already had the rental incomes, I had no problems. I had no anxiety on the income front whatsoever. So the strategy of diversification and the strategy of having a working income and having an investment income next to each other really worked. So that's one. And about the developments in everything, yeah. Also for me, from COVID times now, when buying this fall, I was looking into buying again from September. Everything I've looked at, everything with only one bedroom, I discarded immediately, because the question now is to have a bedroom and an office at home. And better, even 3 bedrooms, so there can even be children, or 2 home offices if there's a partner involved. So this is so interesting. Whereas before I was looking, I didn't notice so much the number of bedrooms, whereas from this fall, minimum 2 bedrooms. So it's interesting that you have to keep on following what's happening in the world. So I very much agree with you there.
Thanks, Annemie.
I have a question, Roland, about the future, because as of 2021, we will have the overdrachtsbelasting of 8%.
You are looking for his crystal ball? You have a question about the future, the crystal ball of Roland?
No, yes, I want to know his opinion about the near future, because we have overdrachtsbelasting will be at 8%. And at this moment, there's hardly something to buy. And I believe there will be a movement in 2021 when people get divorced after the COVID period, or will just start a new family because of the COVID, or move out of the city, because there are so many movements, I believe, in 2021, except all the child stuff will be born maybe, or something. That happens a lot. Or people want to have an escape and go to a big holiday or something like that. So what do you think about the prices in the markets, in the Dutch markets, real estate? What do you think? What's going to happen?
Well, currently we've experienced a very sharp uptrend. Like I explained the last 2-3 months, price has gone up tremendously because all the investors have been buying properties just before the end of December. So it's likely that prices will stabilize over the first quarter next year, maybe the first 6 months. It will just be like flat. But after that, there's still a shortage. At some point, the price will go up again, further up. Because if you look at it from an investment perspective, this 8%, okay, it's a nuisance. It will dampen your initial ROI, but in the long run, doesn't matter. Because who will finally pay the 8% is the tenant. And as long as there's no additional rulings, no additional laws to minimize or to maximize the rent for a certain property, and then they might still think about what I now call the vrije sector, if they are going to move that limit, say maybe up another 400 or 500 euros. So almost every property that's between 200,000 and 300,000 euros will no longer be a vrije sector woning. Then yes, there's a restriction in place in that case that will tell you, okay, this is the maximum rental price. If that happens, then okay, there could be a difficulty in your numbers game, because at some point then it might not add up. You might even not likely to lose all your cash flow. It will just certainly decrease your cash flow. But since the tenants are still repaying your mortgage, the margin over time gets bigger and bigger. So I don't think any significant changes will happen. Prices will go up, and especially the smaller properties. I mean, the one I'm in right now, it's a 3-bedroom apartment. It's like 82 square meters. It's pretty large, but this is very popular. So the price for these properties, they will simply go up.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I guess we can hand over back to Claudia.
Well done, Brother Roland.
Thanks, Manelli.
I'm looking forward to your brochure. Please send me one. And thank you for your time today.
No problem. A pleasure doing it.
Yes, thank you all for the meeting, and thank you, Roland, because you really got a broad perspective. We have now a helicopter view on how to look at it, and it's good that we know that we can ask you for help if we want to go further. And yes, of course, we will send out the brochure to all the people who subscribed for the meeting but didn't attend now for some reason. And yes, I'm curious about your next projects and how it's going on with your Rotterdam building.
Yeah.
I hope you can update on it. Sounds like really a big project for me.
It's a rather big project, but we're looking at about 6 months of developing time to really convert it. We're at the process of speaking with the builders. There is a DCMF financing in place that's being organized as we speak. So that will happen next week, and then we will move on from that point. Wow.
Maybe we can have another meeting in 3 months and you show us around what's the progress, the before and after. It's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I can actually maybe shoot a video and then share it.
Wow,
oh, that's nice. That's nice.
That's cool.
You will see some pictures in the brochure. You will see some pictures of the property in its current state. Like I said, it's completely empty on the inside, but it's structurally sound, and we're just now building the plans to cover it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining today with the meeting, and see you very soon. We have next Monday, we have our Christmas meeting, if you like to join.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Roland. Thank you.
I'm in Barcelona, but I'll be with you in the spirit.
Oh, the Christmas
online.
meeting is online. It's online.
No, I thought you thought about. Of course, you can find now. The Netherlands is even worse than Barcelona. We can
It's-
go
Yeah.
to the front here. You can have a terrace here now.
Oh, we are jealous.
There's one over here. It's less far than Mexico.
Thank you
If
so
you
much.
come here, you have to test yourself.
Yes, I did. I come.
You know, don't worry. As long as you can taste the food and the wine, you can smell it. You have no COVID. So
Okay.
Oh, that's a
Thank you
good
so
one.
That's-
I'll test it every hour.
That's a good Corona test then. Thank you so much. See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.